I am not the ultimate fisherman. But I'm getting there. Given that over 97% of the Earth's water is salt water, stands to reason that majority of your fish recipes throughout history involve saltwater fish. Unfortunately, I live over 3 hours away from the nearest saltwater, so if I'm gonna wanna use a saltwater species, that fish is gonna have to come to me. In other words, we're going striper fishing today. Being an anadromous species, every spring striper leave their salty sea homes and head up into the freshwater river systems. Now, on one of these annual treks, when they turned around to head back out to sea, they were greeted by a dam. But these landlocked striper didn't perish. In fact, in this Coosa River system, they actually managed to reproduce without ever having to go back out to the ocean. But regardless of if they are coming straight from the salt water or if they've been trapped here for generations, every single springtime, striped bass get it in their head that they need to head upstream in order to spawn. But as we know, in a modern river system, you can only go so far. So today we're using a 7-foot medium heavy rod, 15-pound braided main line on a 4500 size spinning reel, a double uni knot attaching us to a 25-pound monofilament leader, and at the end we're starting off with a 1/2 ounce gold colored spoon. And if these striper have made their run up here to the dam, all we should have to do is toss out into this current, reel up on our slack, and let that spoon drift, and this turbulent water will cause it to spin and catch light and flash and everything. And so we just need to sit back and wait for a strike. So it turned out on this particular day that Jordan Dam was completely overrun by white bass. But after picking our way through the school, I finally managed to put a small striped bass into the cooler. Little bitty fish. Now we're back home with our freshly bled striper, and today we're going to be making an Italian dish called Acqua Pazza, or crazy water. So to make our crazy water, we're going to chop up a 1/4 bulb of fennel, 1 shallot, and 4 cloves of garlic. Into a pan on medium-high heat, we're going to drizzle in some olive oil and start sauteing our aromatics. To give our Acqua Pazza a little bit of a kick, we're going to be using some Calabrian chili peppers, but if those aren't available to you, crushed red pepper flakes will work just as well. So we're going to let everything saute in there for about 5 minutes until we completely fill our kitchen nut with delicious smells and aromas. So while those become fragrant, we're going to go ahead and slice up our 8 ounces of cherry tomatoes. We don't want to use too many tomatoes because all we're trying to do is create an herby vegetable broth more than a full-blown tomato sauce. So we'll drop in our tomatoes, and here's where you're going to add all your salt for this dish. You want to add a pretty fair amount because we're going to be adding water to this, but I prefer adding salt at this stage because it helps speed up the process of reducing the tomatoes down. So we'll give it a stir and let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, at which time we'll finally add our 1/2 cup of dry white wine to combat that fishiness. We'll deglaze that pan, and then we'll finally add the water portion of our crazy water, about 1 cup. We'll bring this whole thing up to a boil, and now we can finally add in our 1 pound of freshly cleaned fish fillets. We'll gently lay it down into our bubbling sauce, and we'll top the whole thing off with 1½ tablespoons of freshly cut Italian parsley. We'll slap a lid on top of this, reduce the heat to low, and we're going to let it poach and steam in there for about 5 minutes. In the meantime, you're going to want to cut you off a nice piece of crusty bread so that you can sop up the sauce afterwards. So now for the big reveal, and our Acqua Pazza is complete. I'm just going to put one of my fish fillets on top of my piece of crusty bread and then drizzle the sauce over the top of it. And now it's time to eat. Fish is nice and flaky. Fish is nice and moist. And I mean, it's just tomato sauce, so I mean, you can't really beat it. It's not as acidic as a straight up tomato sauce would be. It's more subtle. But it's quick, it's easy, it's all in one pan. I have absolutely no complaints with this. And like I said, a nice piece of crusty bread to soak up the sauce afterwards. This is a winner. Another one down. A lot more dishes and fishes to eat. But until then, y'all have a good one.